Hi there guys, welcome back to the DJI channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. And so you've probably seen the title of the video, but if you look past that, this video might just be another review video. Maybe I'm reviewing an action camera or a drone. Right, why not? Could be reviewing a drone or a camera or a VTX. Yeah, until you see what I'm flying with, what I have in my hands here. Hopefully you can actually see what I have in my hands here. Yeah, so that is an enormous radio, and not only that, it is an Frsky radio. Flying a drone in 2022 with a Frsky radio. Dutch RC, what the hell? Yeah, so in this video we're gonna see how likely or unlikely this combination is. Maybe, for instance, you fly FPV airplanes and you want to get into drone flying. Do you need to buy another radio for that, or can you use your airplane radio? But also there's a second reason for this video, and you know what, I'm first gonna show and tell you how if this combination works well at all, and then I'm gonna tell you why I'm even contemplating using this combination here. I'm not using this combination simply for the sake of the video. I genuinely want to know if this would work out well. So again, let me show you the combination I'm flying with here and whether this works out at all.
You serious?
So guys, this here is my Frsky X20S. So it says X20, but it's an S. I've got the upgraded gimbals in it. And so most people will say, well, okay, that's probably a nice radio, but it's intended for RC airplanes. Or maybe boats, other things, cars, yeah. Mostly for RC airplanes. So if you have this radio like I have and you want to get into drone flying, then is this a nice radio to start out with? Can you with this radio test the waters, or I should say with a radio like this, and a radio intended for RC airplanes? Can you go out and buy yourself a drone, an FPV drone, and see whether you actually like flying FPV drones? Now, to that story, I need to add that I actually started FPV flying with a Horus X10S. So basically the predecessor of this radio here, the X10. Yeah, by that time, however, I wasn't much of a pilot, like everybody starts out, so maybe my requirements are higher by now. But still, if you have a radio like this, which is definitely a high-end, nice radio, and you then go ahead and buy yourself or build yourself a FPV drone such as you see it here, can you, is this a nice option, or will you dislike FPV flying because of this combination? That's a possibility, probably. So also in this video I'll tell you what struggles I ran into getting my receivers to work. I've got an R-XSR receiver in this drone, which is a legitimate FPV flying receiver, but does it actually work well with a radio like this? So guys, the first question then would be, if you again already have a radio like this Frsky Tandem, or maybe a Futaba radio or a Spectrum radio intended for airplane use, or in other words a radio that you use for your airplanes, is it advisable to get into drone flying and then use that radio? Well, as you can tell, I can definitely fly with this radio. And actually, this is my third flight with this combination by now. So I'm a little bit slightly used to it. It is still, well, I'm still not used to it as much as my drone specific radios, but it's pretty nice actually. One thing I would probably change, well, yeah, is the ratcheting. I have a minute ratcheting on my throttle, which you don't really want for drones, but I do want to have it for airplanes. So yeah, the question then is, do I remove it and then not have it for my airplanes, or leave it as is? Yeah, other than that, I definitely have to get used to the spacing of this radio. The two gimbals are further apart, and that part of the equation is probably very easy to get used to. However, the gimbals themselves are, the throws of the sticks are bigger. That has two effects. I fly this drone more precisely, definitely, sorry. But also slower. This combination is now making me a leisurely pilot, whereas with other radios I fly more aggressively most times. Might be something to get used to, I really don't know. But it works. Okay, so for me, I still haven't told you why I'm actually contemplating this combination. I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But do I want to keep this combination around, or do I want to look for alternatives? Yeah, third flight. I've got better precision. I definitely fly the quadcopter more precisely. Definitely. But the throw, and also the sticks in this radio are pretty low in the radio, right? You've got the screen above the sticks. Yeah, it's probably something to get used to. Interesting, this, definitely. And yeah, that is why I'm testing it, not only for your sake, but I want to know if this works out well. Okay, verdict for now, it's not horrible. I can definitely live with this. And do I want to convert all my quadcopters to this setup? Probably not. But if this were my only radio, not bad. This again, this works. It's pretty precise. Oh, for Cine quadcopters, this would be an excellent combination, probably. Interesting. Okay, land now. Okay, let's get back to the studio and then I'll explain why I'm even testing this, why I want to know if this works out well. So guys, for the sake of the story, I now have two drones here, and if you are experienced with drones, you will recognize this antenna over here, which is a TBS Crossfire antenna. Or, well, Crossfire antenna. It's an Immortal T antenna to be precise, but it's part of the Crossfire receiver I have in this drone. And this drone over here on your left has a DJI digital setup, and I fly all my DJI digital setups with TBS Crossfire. On your right, you see the drone that we flew previously, and that's an analog drone, right? An analog video setup. And in most of my analog drones, I have Frsky receivers. Yeah, and more specifically, in most of them, I have an R-XSR receiver. So yeah, that works out well. And if you follow my channel, you probably know that I had a TBS Mambo radio with a multi-protocol module in it. And that works out pretty well because multi-protocol modules can speak D16 language, right? Frsky D16 protocol. So that worked out well for me for drones like this. However, this here on your left is actually another one of my analog drones. This is a racing drone, and well, in general, in racing drones you don't want to use the DJI digital setup. So this one also has an Frsky receiver. A genuine Frsky receiver. I always use genuine Frsky receivers for my analog setups. However, this one might actually be an XM Plus. Yeah, so I might have me a problem with this here drone, because here you see the RF setup I have in my Horus X20, the radio I previously flew in this video, and you can see over here that I'm using the Access protocol, so Frsky's newest, if you will, protocol. And the radio can, well, it says at least it can use the D16 protocol, but for the life of me I could not get that to work. With none of the quadcopters I have Frsky receivers in, I couldn't get that to work. And with the multi-protocol modules, I've used several in D16 mode, worked always. Now I'm sure it's down to a firmware version, either on the radio or on my receivers, but yeah, you're basically back in firmware hell with Frsky, right? So again, I could not get that to work. So the second option then was use Access. And yeah, as you could see, that works. I have the R-XSR here registered in the radio and bound obviously, and yeah, it works. But for all drones that have R-XSR receivers I'll have to update the firmware. And in some cases that means disassembling the quadcopter because the receiver is somewhere in the quadcopter. But okay, so it is an option for me. It works, but I'll have to reflash all my receivers with the Access firmware. Yeah, and that might be something you'll have to, well actually if you're new to drones, it's not a problem, you'll have to flash the receivers anyway. I simply use the latest Access protocol for my R-XSR receivers, or there are actually newer Frsky receivers, right? For drones, small little receivers. So that's always an option. Again, if you're new to it, there's no issue. But if you have a fleet with, well, Frsky receivers already, that's something to keep in mind. So guys, long story short, if you have a radio like this, or specifically the X20S from Frsky, or maybe even the X20S HD that I also have, and you want to try that FPV flying thing, then I'd say you don't need to instantly buy yourself a drone specific radio. This will work. Right? It basically it's the exact same thing I did. I was already flying my airplanes with an Frsky X10D, which is a little bit smaller probably than this X20, but then I wanted to try FPV flying, and I didn't buy a different radio instantly. At the time there wasn't as much choice, by the way, that there weren't all that many, maybe there weren't any drone specific radios now that I think of it. But still, I was happy to try the waters, try FPV flying with my X10. So, no need to spend the extra money instantly. So the last thing I want to tell you in this video is the reason why I'm testing this. As I mentioned, I already had that TBS Mamba radio with a multi-protocol module, and that works for all my analog drones. However, now and again I sell drones. Partly because I simply like building drones, and that leads to having far too many drones. Also, I review drones and I don't want to keep every one of them around. So again, sometimes I sell a drone, and now and again I run into people that do want to buy the drone, but are relatively or completely new to FPV flying. And then I'd have to tell them, well, yeah, you'll have to buy a radio, and okay, so probably you'll have to flash this and that firmware onto your radio, and if it doesn't bind, then that wasn't the correct firmware maybe, and maybe Frsky doesn't offer that firmware on their official site anymore. You'll have to use a backdoor to get the proper firmware. So, long story short, I most times tell those people, yeah, this isn't the drone for you, you'll have to know what you're doing already. Right? This time, however, as I am contemplating moving away from the Frsky protocol partly, but I wanted to help this person out, and I soldered my radio with the multi-protocol module as well. Helped that new pilot tremendously, because he didn't have to hunt for firmwares, he didn't have to install anything, bind anything, set up the radio, the model in the radio, set up the drone, the rates, and blah 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 blah. It all worked instantly. So again, that beginner was helped tremendously in my humble opinion, and yeah, that left me without any radio that talks Frsky, well, except for my airplane radios, which is this X20 and the X20 HD. So that's my predicament. That's why I'm testing this, and I must say that this works. It even fits in my backpack, and I was happy to fly this drone with this radio. It's a little bit different, especially the width of the radio takes a little bit of getting used to, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it. No, probably not, but I have a slight ratchet on my throttle. Again, if you fly airplanes, you know that's handy to have a little bit of a throttle ratchet. But yeah, for drones, yeah. Okay, that's it. And hopefully this video helped you out. If you are left with questions, hit me up and comment down below. And hopefully this was useful to you. Catch you on the next video. Bye bye.